Episode 74 of the Lads Talking Footy podcast. As always, myself, Sam, joined by Jordan Tana. Mate, the prelims, they are just around the corner. It seemed like just the other day we were kind of previewing Origin. The season has just completely flown past, and we're going to be without footy very, very soon. We're going to be previewing all of those as we get into the show a little bit more. But before we get into that, the All Blacks, they took on the Wallabies over the weekend. They did end up defeating them 31-28. I see you kind of grimacing over there. Looked great at the start. I was thinking when it first kicked off, we might be even keeping up with the clock in this one. I was sort of looking around for some record victories over the Wallabies. But again, a stale second half performance where we just completely dropped away. What did you make of the game?
So if I'm going to give the All Blacks a grade for their performance on the weekend, it's going to just barely eke out a C- because there was still a lot of the red flags we've seen through this rugby championship. But we did get the result, which is the most important thing of all. But I think the stat is throughout this whole rugby championship, we haven't scored a single point in the last 20 minutes of a game, which is fucking ridiculous. Like, we've been saying that the All Blacks are kind of known for their clutch and their ability to close games, but that stat says the complete opposite. And at the moment, we're kind of like the Game of Thrones series, man. We're good through the first 60 minutes, we're good through the first 6 seasons, and then the last couple of seasons, those last 20 minutes, we just put out absolute shitters and ruined the whole thing pretty much. But luckily, we didn't completely ruin this one. I thought our attack looked very, very slick in the opening, say, 30 minutes of this game, where we were just really going like backdoor a lot of plays, and it was really beautiful to watch. And Australia was giving us a lot of opportunities, but we were making the most of them, and it was beautiful to watch. And I was kind of thinking like 70, like if Argentina could do 67, I was thinking maybe 80 was on the cards the way we were looking. But yeah, it's still some clinical errors down the stretch that are costing us. And I don't know what to make of it, bro. Like, what do you make of this lack of point scoring in the final quarter of game?
I thought the attacking flair that we had right to begin with was like really, really good. And you can play a lot of those back balls and things like that. Play an expansive game when you're controlling the ruck speed. And we're very, very clinical at the ruck in terms of recycling that quick ball. And that's what you used to always see from Aaron Smith, that very, very quick recycle of the ball. That's what Cam Roigard was fantastic about as well. But it's about that service for them there. So that was going really, really well. But it's when the collision factor starts to go negate against us. And this is why we've always had these fantastic 10s that can control and dictate the tempo of the game in terms of their kicking game and the ability to put us in positions in the game and control the tempo of it. You saw the Wallabies, as they started to get a roll-on effect, as soon as we had the ball, we were kind of trying to play that attacking prowess back against them as well. Maybe doing our kicking sort of was still aimed tactically as opposed to looking to build pressure and things like that. So for me, it's just that decision-making and the ability, I think the leaders on the field as well, that ability to be able to sort of negate what's going on in the game and be able to control the tempo and the match the Wallabies in terms of when they're getting that roll-on effect and being able to negate that. And I agree with you completely. It's very, very concerning that the last 20 minutes throughout this entire rugby championship, no points are scored. The All Blacks have been known for that, but the Crusaders have been known for that as well in Razors. So something's got to change.
Yeah, do you think maybe we need to look towards our bench? Is there something we can do to improve our bench? Because I thought Australia's bench came on and the likes of like Salakai Lotto and Langi Gleeson came on, and they really made an impact for them. And you could see like a shift in their forward pack, and they started making ad line just because of those physical bodies coming on. And then I think James Slipper, like just a bit of veteran leadership coming on in that second half for the most caps in Australian history would have helped as well. I didn't notice his impact, but that would have helped them as well turn the screws in that last 20 minutes. Do you think maybe our bench needs tinkering? Like we've talked about a 6-2 before. Is that something drastic we need to do, or are you happy the way it's looking?
When you look at the All Blacks in terms of the bench and the impact that they provided, that all started around the Beauden Barrett sort of era in that Rugby World Cup, where we would be on this unreal sort of roll, and then bang, at that 60-minute mark, we'd just bring on this attacking flair, and our attack would go to a whole nother level. And that's what the All Blacks that's their sort of niche, and that's where they went down, is just the impact of the bench would just rise. And I think our midfield, I think Anton Leonard-Brown's perfect for that. I think it's interesting, like TJ isn't going to increase the tempo when you bring him on. His running game isn't quite like what it used to be. You know, when you'd have Aaron Smith out there and then you'd bring TJ on and the game opens up, and he was the perfect support line runner as a number 9. Just in terms of the back depth, and again, like naming specialist wingers as reserves as well, that it doesn't seem like there's much of a game plan as such. It's more to cover sort of areas. And I agree, like even against the South African team, it would have potentially been a good way to experiment with the bench process as well, the numbers and things like that, and just trying to match them a little bit. If you're going to be bringing on that 6-2 split, maybe we'll do the same, and we'll just see if we can negate sort of the game plan out there, because it's going to be a very physical match, and maybe we can take it to you that way. They just need to figure out what they're doing. I thought Wallace Satiti was absolutely fantastic for them, and he's got a very, very bright future for the All Blacks. To me, though, I reckon he's almost that bench player that we want to bring on. Someone, a very, very big body, very strong over the ball, but someone that can make a real, real impact in 20 minutes and just be extremely explosive. So for me, it's sort of him, Anton Leonard-Brown, and then just figuring out what that flair is going to be off the bench for us out in that the back line as well, and the driver sort of areas, or out at the fullback kind of spot. You know, is it going to be Beauden Barrett or is it going to be Damian McKenzie? I'd like to see one of those guys be coming off the bench and just that 20 minutes of flair, because I really think that's what we're lacking.
Is it time? Because we've been talking about how clogged, you know, the attack is looking in the decision-making around that first 5 position. Is it time to do a bit of plumbing? Are we making that move now? Are we testing it in this second Bledisloe Cup game?
Oh, I don't know. I think if they were going to pull trigger on it, it would have been this game, the game just previously gone. So I'm not sure, and especially leading into this Northern Hemisphere tour, I don't know if they're going to rock it too much. So I think if it was going to be, it was going to be last week. Maybe he'll get a few more minutes, and maybe that's what we'll want to see from him. But kind of, watching it, I almost wanted to see Perifetta out there. He looked very good in the first couple of test matches. So to me, when I was sort of watching it, it was like, oh, I wouldn't mind seeing maybe Beauden at 10, Perifetta at fullback, and D-Mac being that flair off the bench, or Damien still being there at 10 and Beauden coming on and just steadying the hand on where he's going to be. But yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. For me, it's the bench, it's the impact coming off there. Now, we've lost our last 5 games in a row in Wellington. We last won there in 2018. It's been 2,293 days since we last won there. Are you a little concerned that maybe there's going to be a Wellington hoodoo over us this weekend, or are we going to break it?
I'm definitely leaning more towards that we're going to break it. I think there's more of a hoodoo of All Blacks against teams like Australia and Argentina bouncing back from a loss to win by like 13 plus. I noticed that's a trend with the All Blacks. So I'm going to favor that result, especially the way they looked in that 30 minutes and the amount of, you know, publicity that's been made of their lack of scoring and execution down the last 20 minutes. It would be kind of weird and against histrionics to say, oh, they're going to fix that in the last 20 minutes when we literally haven't seen that. But I think they are going to, well, I'm hoping they're going to fix that and show a little bit of something in the last 20 minutes and put the foot on the throat and not let this become a contest down the end. So I do think we're going to win comfortably. I don't think it's going to be anything too ridiculous. I think Wallabies won't start as bad as what they did, because they pretty much, like, I think the 4th try, they practically gave it to Severis. But yeah, I think it's going to be around 40 to 15, something like that. I think the All Blacks can bounce back.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm sort of leaning around that 32, 35 point mark to 12 to the Wallabies as well. I think they might have 1 or 2 tries in them, maybe a penalty or something, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as close. But I'm not really leaning towards a massive blowout win either. Before we move on, though, a huge win for the Pumas, 29-28 over South Africa. I was looking at the updated world rankings on Planet Rugby just before. They currently have them sitting 6th in the world. So behind England, France, us, South Africa, and Ireland. I mean, we've just sort of talked about our concern for the All Blacks, and, you know, it's always been very a luxury for us, I guess, to never have to worry about test matches and things like that. It's very, very good to see the competitive nature that the World Rugby is actually in at the moment. But what do you make of the Pumas and the rise for them? Because just a couple of years ago, we're sort of debating whether they should have actually been in the Rugby Championship. Now they're making a lot of noise.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, what bloody took you so long? Like, we've had you in this competition for about 13 years now, and it is actually really good to finally see them become a competitive team. But because for a long time, they were the Italy of this competition. They were coming fourth pretty much every year, maybe stealing a game off the Wallabies. But now you're seeing them consistently beat us. They beat us 3 times over the last 4 years. They beat Aussie by 60, so that's no problem for them anymore. And they got a win over the current world champions. And they were a bit lucky that, the Springboks missed the kick to win the game. But the way they've been playing and the way they've beaten France, they've beaten Uruguay handsomely, they've beaten Australia by just as much, they've beaten us in New Zealand, and now they've beaten the world champions all this year. It shows they've taken a leap, and you got to give a lot of credit to Felipe Contepomi for taking this team that was already kind of like teasing their way at a jump into the tier 1 nations, but really seems to have cemented themselves as that now. And I see the rankings. I heard 6th. I would probably place them at around 4th or 5th because, France in between World Cups, they just fuck around with their team and they try new combinations and whatnot. So you could easily have them above France during this whole trial and test period for them. But once it comes World Cup time, I probably would back France more. But at the moment, I'm giving Argentina 4th in the world.
Yeah, I'd almost have them above England too. And we talk about Eden Park being a fortress for the All Blacks. Playing in Argentina, mate, is an absolute fortress for them as well. If you're a betting man and you're coming up against the Pumas over there, I'd be looking over to tip the old Argentinians. One question for you before we head into accountability. Kalyn Ponga, he has withdrawn himself from consideration from the Kangaroos. He's been slammed a little bit for this, and I've got a quote here from Chairman Peter Vlandis. It states, "It's surprising and disappointing that anyone would contemplate not taking the honour of representing your country." What are your thoughts on the situation of Kalyn Ponga withdrawing himself from Kangaroos contention? And I guess the backhanded compliment or the backhanded slaps that are sort of going along with it.
Well, I think the Kiwis coach should probably get on the blower and try to see if he's got some eligibility for us, because I see a couple of tarmockles on Kalyn Ponga. I think he could probably play for New Zealand. I know he does have New Zealand heritage. But in terms of him withdrawing from Kangaroos, I mean, yeah, it is a little disappointing as a fan, because he's definitely probably not definitely, but he, in my eyes, he's the number 1 choice to be the Kangaroos fullback if healthy. And it is disappointing to not see him take that, because representing your country should always be, the highest honor. Like, this is the peak of sports, to represent your country, to be the best in your country and to compete against the best from all over the world. So it is a little bit disappointing. I understand where Vlandis is coming from, because the youth might see that, and, International Rugby League has struggled to kind of make its impact as an international sport as compared to like rugby union, soccer, stuff like that. They barely get like 16 teams to the World Cups, and it's still just taking a bit of time to penetrate the global market. And things like this is kind of, it's a little disappointing to see him not take that honor with such prestige and to put his hand up for Kangaroos rugby. So, I'm a little disappointed as well, because I want International Rugby League to thrive, because I want that to be another element beyond the NRL season, which seems like it runs out too quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I hear where you're coming from, but I'm going to go a little different route on this one. The last 2 to 3 seasons, he's really struggled to put up consistency throughout the NRL season due to injury, due to concussion reasons as well. And we finally saw him in the backstretch of this season as well. The same as last season as too, where he really found some form, and it was, it's great for the Knights as well. And what I'm sort of mean is like maybe just that little break in between. They have played finals footy as well, so he has had a couple of games extended over the regular season. So I do think a break for him from footy, from training as well, will be great for him, great for his body, and for the Knights as well, for him to come back in fresh next season. But I do agree with you in terms of promoting the game, making it better as well. And so, I don't know, it's a little bit of a tricky situation. But then you also look at it long term as well. And James Tedesco's he's probably going to get that Kangaroos jersey come end of season. I don't think Dylan Edwards will be playing. Kalen Ponga was obviously there in contention, and then Reece Walsh was sort of flirting around there as well. It's and Kangaroos number one jersey is up for grabs. So it's kind of like if you don't take it now, we all know what Mel does in terms of loyalty and his selections as well. So maybe he has shot himself in the foot here where he had a potential opportunity to get just 1 foot in front of the Dylan Edwards too. So yeah, look, it is interesting, but I do think he is copping a little bit of flack, a bit too much flack, I should say, in terms of he's had a lot of injury concerns as well. You imagine if he went out there in the end of season, ended up copping a concussion or something, and it was really going to, derail the Knights' season come next year as well. We're going to move into accountability, mate. Do you want to take us away?
Yeah, so the lads have gone from a perfect week to an imperfect week. And to be fair, it gets a little dicey when it comes down to just picking for 2 games a week. So unfortunately, we've both gone 0 from 2. And there's a lot of X's here. We've gone for a bit of an upset week, so you can't blame us. But unfortunately, the top 4 have proven themselves to be the cream of the crop. We start off with the Sharks. They beat the Cowboys after getting out to a hot start. Beat them 26-18. I've gone Cowboys plus 4.5, which they've just missed out on. But Kyle Felt has also not scored, and it was double stake. So double miss there for me.
Yeah, I've got Mulatalo Felt and over 45.5 at $4.33. We put all our eggs in the Kyle Felt basket, mate, and unfortunately they all crack for us.
Yeah, very unfortunate stuff. And then unfortunate as well for your Seagulls in the next game because they ran into a bit of a juggernaut with the Roosters, beating them 40-16. I just realized I'm wearing an Eagles jersey, so it's kind of a bit apropos. I'm mourning the loss here. I've gone Seagulls plus 4.5 into Talau, anytime try scorer, and that hasn't hurt.
Yeah, I've gone DCE into Tedesco, anytime try scorer at $8.25. That was a tough game to watch there, mate.
And then repeat set betting. We've also gone in on the Cowboys and Felt again. I've gone Cowboys plus 4.5, hasn't hit.
Yeah, I've gone Felt anytime try scorer at $1.70. And my 40-20 bet was Kyle Felt, first try scorer at $9. So we go down there.
And then, yeah, I've just tried to do my eat-ass little two-way head-to-heads. I've gone Cowboys anytime. Oh, not anytime. Cowboys head-to-head, Seagulls head-to-head, and they've both missed.
Yeah, as for my unit round collect, obviously minus 5 units on that one, which brings my total units down to 74.59 on the season.
And also a minus 5. There's no other way about it when you get all X's across the board.
Tough punting. Now we're going to move into the performance of the round. I'm going to go first here, and I've got Braden Trindle here. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a different route on this one. The stats were impressive. The performance was great from him. He was the catalyst into the Sharks going through to the next round, which just leads me to this. What do they do against the Panthers? Doomed if they do and doomed if they don't with Nico. He takes that lead role and they lose. It's on him. If he doesn't take that lead role and they lose, he'll cop the blame for this as well. A fantastic performance from Braden Trindle nonetheless, but the question around the Sharks halves, which we've sort of had a little bit of a discussion about throughout the season, comes up again, mate. Braden Trindle, fantastic, but what do they do?
I kind of like the look of what they're doing at the moment by having Braden Trindle do the majority of the load of work with the kicking, with the playmaking, with the majority of the decision-making, and have Nico Hines almost playing like that traditional 6 role. I know their numbers aren't like 7 and 6, but he's kind of playing like a Luai complementing Nathan Cleary, whereas Trindle's playing like the Cleary. And it's almost like, I almost like the idea because we've seen, I hate bringing this up, and I like that, I do like that they won, so it kind of takes that hoodoo off the back that he's not a pressure player, but I have to bring it up because it's what I've seen, and he isn't a great pressure player. Like in big games, he does sort of play within himself, and he doesn't take the ball by the horns. So I do kind of like this role where he's taking kind of a back step back, and you can see when he does get his touches, they're really like influential touches, and it just gives him the ability to do what he does best and just make decisions and hold that little skip pass and, just play with some freedom, knowing that Trindle is going to be doing the majority of the load in terms of decision making and kicking and all that other stuff. So I kind of like the way it looks. What it means for the future, I don't know. Will it work against the Panthers? I definitely don't know, but I'm liking this sort of version of the Sharks halves combination.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think a lot of it as well, like Braden Trindle was fantastic for this game, and Nico obviously realised that as well. And like any good halves or halfback out there, realised who had the hot hand, and he didn't want to take that ball away from Trindle. Everything was starting to fall for him, everything was starting to work, and he let him play his game, and he just complemented that perfectly. So if we do see a different kind of a different kind of look up against this Panthers side, I hope that flack doesn't come back onto Nico as well, because he just did a fantastic job in this and just giving the ball to Trindle, feeding the hot hand and letting him play his style of game. But I do hope Tricky Trindle doesn't come across and just start stepping on his toes. Fantastic performance though, and yeah, he's potentially going to play himself into a healthy little pay packet as well, old Trindle.
Yeah, and it's going to be well deserved, man. And speaking of another guy who, well, he's probably earned his fair share of money over his career, but he just keeps on ticking, man. And my performance of the round is James Tedesco from the Roosters, and very impressive performance from the Roosters. Kind of like a clinical Panthers-esque performance in the way they went about things. And he was absolutely fantastic at the forefront of that. 2 tries, 226 run meters, 2 line breaks, 3 line break assists, 2 try assists, and 3 tackle breaks. Had his fingerprints all over this game, and this is the best they've looked since losing Sam Walker at scoring points in the strike zone, and it was because of his involvement. I think the touches he made and the little wraparound plays he did throughout the game really helped them get over the line and score a lot of points in this contest. And he kind of took over as that influential playmaker and attacking threat that got them a lot of points in the strike zone. So I was very impressed with James Tedesco. And I mean, we've been kind of thinking, when's the fall off? When's the cliff? And it just doesn't seem to be coming. And we've talked about good fullbacks and how Kalen Ponga was turning down his opportunity with the Kangaroos. It's going to be this guy because Dylan Edwards is he's dealing with his own injuries. He probably won't commit, like you said. And James Tedesco is going to take the reins again and probably be the captain, which, they're not going to be missing anything by selecting him because he is still in great form. I would have him, if I'm going to do like a top 5 fullbacks from this season and the current fullbacks, I would have Kalen Ponga, Dylan Edwards when he's healthy, James Tedesco, Reece Walsh, and then 5, I think maybe like Latrell when he's healthy, because I do like Latrell when he's healthy. But yeah, James Tedesco to still be in that top 5 and to still be a Dally M contender like he was, super impressive, man.
Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. You needed that kind of performance with no Sam Walker to sort of help Sandon Smith along the way, take a little bit of pressure off him and just create something for them as well. And it's pretty crazy to look back on the season, and he hasn't been in that origin. Obviously, he played game 1, but that break over that period has done him a world of good if this is the performance or the performances that he's been putting up as well, because oh man, we could have the rug pulled out from under our eyes come Dally M awards ceremonies as well. He could be taking home that award too. He's been fantastic this season, and the slips, they just keep coming from him.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Quick question. Who would you, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but who would you have as your top 5 fullbacks in the comp?
I'd have Kalen Ponga 1, Dylan Edwards, James Tedesco, or probably Teddy or Turbo. Sort of in that same kind of area. And then, yeah, I probably agree with you. Who'd you have at 4? You had...
I had Reece Walsh.
Reece Walsh. Yeah, Reece Walsh at that 5th spot. I think, yeah, Reece Walsh has been fantastic, but this year just hasn't sort of gone that well for him in terms of ball playing and things like that. But the yardage carries for all of those boys. And Kalen Ponga is just on a whole nother level himself, just in what he can create for his side.
Well, Reece Walsh can look as good as 1 and look as bad as like 12. So there's a lot of variation to where you can rank Reece Walsh.
Yeah, and he's looking good over in Bali at the moment as well. Those Broncos boys have been living it up at the moment. Jordan Ricky's over at Oktoberfest too. So they're having fun at the moment, which is pretty funny. Finals, mate. We're going to move into the preview for that. Prelims are on the way. All of these odds are accurate as of Wednesday at 6 p.m. And we're going to kick it off with the Storm as they take on the Roosters at Amy Park. Now, the Storm are $1.30 favourites in this. The Roosters are $3.60 underdogs. And the line is at 9.5. No changes for the Storm. However, Suafa'alonga has been named on the extended squad after suffering his hamstring injury a couple of rounds ago. For the Roosters, they have named the same squad that took down Manly last week, and Radley is named to start again. So this is the 51st meeting between these two. The Storm have won 31 and the Roosters have won 19. The Roosters have a 4 for 13 record at Amy Park. That's just a 31% win rate. They have lost 10 of their last 11 games against the Storm. Now, you're going to hear all these stats around the Storm and the Panthers up against the Chooks over the next couple of days as we build into this at Amy Park. No Sam Walker for them either. Their backs are really up against the wall. But stats don't always take into account some things, mate, like emotion and what a game means to a player. And we saw that last week. JWH, straight off the kickoff, the venom and what that moment means to them and a lot of these other players as well. These finals games mean a lot of different things to a lot of these different guys. And it might be the last game for your club, potentially your last game ever, and that prep and that energy and the way that you play will be completely different. They're going to go out there and they're going to leave everything out there. This isn't just a normal club game. This is a finals game. This is what they've built their whole entire season towards. And I'm going to pick an upset in this one. I'm going to back the Roosters. It's a hell of a mountain to climb down here, but they've got a shocking record. It is well known against the Storm. It's going to be aired out in the media the whole time. They can't come up against these top two teams. They can't get that jump over that hurdle. We saw the Sharks do it last week in their finals matchup, but I think the Roosters are going to take it to them, man. This is a completely different game. Like I said before, it's not a round robin game. This is a finals game. This is do or die. You got JWH, you got Joseph Suali'i, Carey, Joseph Manu. There's a lot of guys out there that are departing this club. They're going to leave it all out there. I reckon they're going to do it, mate. I'm going to pick the upset.
I like it. That's a good hot take. We've been agreeing too much lately, so I like that you've done a hot take with this one. But I'm going to back the Storm, and I'm going to back the Storm to give the Roosters a bit of a whooping because I've said it for the last 6 weeks. The Storm are my picks to win this competition, and they've done nothing but strengthen my confidence in them. I'm backing the Storm here. They did beat the Roosters earlier this year, 24-8, and they held that Roosters attack with Sam Walker to 8 points, single digits, which is pretty impressive. And then last year they did beat the Roosters in finals footy, 18-12. So there is that hoodoo for them as well. Whereas the Roosters played with like a Panthers-like clinicalness, like I said before last week, and they did look like the best that they have looked since Walker's gone down in that strike zone. But they come up against the cream of the crop team, and I think it's an underrated aspect of the Storm's defense. I mean, of the Storm's team, is their defense, because they conceded 12 or less in 3 of their last 4 games and only conceded more when fielding a B team against the Cowboys. So they're looking good on that front. They've been a good defensive team all year. And then on attack, we know what they do, especially at home. Lightning fast, dynamic attack that averages 41.3 points per game in their last 4. And I think their defense is going to be good enough to resurface some of those concerns that has been with their attack, the Roosters that is, since Sam Walker's gone down. And then I like their attack at home on a cold but clear evening. So I am going to go the Storm 13 plus, $2.12, and I'm going to double stake it.
Ooh, tasty. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. I'm going to laugh at work when a few of these guys see these predictions and me tipping against the Roosters here. I will be at the game as well on Friday night. I can't wait for that. And I do hope that the Storm get it just to see what the celebrations are like in Melbourne too. But yeah, look, I'm going to pick the upset in this one. And my best bet for this one, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to ask, would you have picked the Sea Eagles if they went through to face the Storm?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's completely biased. I would have tipped them as well.
Yeah.
My best bet for this one, I'm going to throw one at the stumps in here. And he's played 315 games. He's scored a total of 16 tries. The 2024 season, he's sitting on a duck egg. I don't think there's going to be a nutty run this year for JWH. So I'm going to go Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, score a try, and the Roosters to win. And that's at $41.75. We're going to move into the Panthers taking on the Sharkies at Accor Stadium. The Panthers, $1.25 favourites. The Sharks are $4 underdogs, and the line is at 11.5. Sorensen has been named amongst the reserves for the Panthers, but no other changes made for them, and the same 17 for the Sharks that got the win last week. So the Sharks have won one of their last 8 finals games. They got over the monkey. They got over the hump, last week. The Panthers have won 10 straight finals games. The Panthers, if they win this, they're going to their 5th straight grand final with a chance to win 4 in a row. They have a 52% win rate at Accor Stadium, while the Sharks only have a 39% win rate here. The Panthers have won 7 of their last 8 games against the Sharks, and 5 of those wins have been by a 13-plus margin. The Sharks have not scored in their last 2 games in a row against the Panthers. Panthers win this one, mate. They're off to chase their 4th premiership in a row.
Yeah, I mean, they jumped over the monkey, but I don't think they're going to jump over the Panthers. I have to agree. I am going to back the Panthers to win this game. But, man, against any other team, I love the Sharks as 11-point underdogs. Yeah. Even the Storm, I would have loved them as an 11-point underdogs. But just laying out some of those stats that you did, the Panthers have the Sharks' absolute number. 70-0 across the last 160 minutes that these teams have played. It's absolutely crazy. And the Panthers have shown, they came second, but they still shown signs of vulnerability throughout the season. But they really did show their true finals form in week 1. And I think we're going to see more closer to that than some of the games we've seen throughout the season. And, you talk about the Panthers' record against the Sharks and why it is so lopsided. It kind of makes sense if you break down these teams because, the Sharks really try to, body you through the middle with some big forwards and some big guys coming in on the interchange. They try to keep the flow straight through the middle so that they can unleash the attack of Nico Hines, who can really play blindsides or fastball. Braden Trindle has shown to play really good off fastball as well and make good decisions, especially with his short kicking game. And they really like to take opportunities off the back of fast play from their forwards. But the Panthers, I don't think they did at times this year, but I don't think I ever seen them in finals get just bullied through the middle and bodied through the middle with JWH, with Moses Leota, with some of their hard-nosed defenders like Liam Martin and Isaiah Yeo. Mitch Kenny as well. I can include him as a hard-nosed defender, even though he's a hooker. I don't see them getting bodied through the middle. And then what the Sharks have done really well is attack in the strike zone. They really make the most of getting their points. They score good tries on the edges with Katoa and Mulatalo. And another factor for the Penrith Panthers that I've seen over the years throughout this dynastic run is their goal line defense. So all the strengths of the Sharks are pretty much negated by this team, and is why I think the Panthers are going to win this game. And I don't know by how much, because I really think the Sharks are going to take the recent results personally and really live for this game. And I do still have my concerns as to whether the Panthers are as much of a defensive juggernaut as they have been in previous years. But I am going to say they win head-to-head, and I'm going to mix it in with Luke Garner, anytime try scorer, because Holmes scored a double on the Sharks' right edge. Panthers scored 3 tries between Garner and Luai down that side in their last game. And Garner has scored 4 tries in his last 3 games. So I'm going to juice it up by going Panthers head-to-head into Garner, anytime try scorer at $4.25.
Nice. I like it. I'm kind of studded for stats here in this one. Toto scoring in finals games is always a good one to go in on. But I'm going to go in on Cleary in this one. He always steps up in these kind of big games. I think he's due for another big performance in this. And I think he'll have the run game going like he did in week 1. So I'm going to go Nathan Cleary to score and the Panthers to win, and that'll give you $3.20. My best bets for that one is JWH and the Roosters to win at $41.75. Big fella off the nutty run and the Chooks for an upset. I hope so. Cleary and the Panthers to win at $3.20. I'm double staking that one as well.
If you get that JWH one over the line, that'll take you over probably 100 units for the season. So fingers crossed for that one, because that'll be an amazing achievement. But I've gone Storm 13 plus at $2.12, and I've double staked it. Then I've gone Panthers head-to-head into Luke Garner, anytime try scorer at $4.25.
Nice. We're going to move into our locks and 40-20s. I'm going to start us off with my lock. So 10 consecutive finals wins versus 1 finals win from 8 attempts. The Panthers head-to-head at $1.25. It's not much, but it's a lock.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to preach to me, bro, because I've gone with my little eat-ass head-to-heads. but it definitely didn't have the value for a 40-20 bet this time. So I'm using it here as my repeat set bet. Storm head-to-head into Panthers head-to-head at $1.56. Both your favourites going through.
Nice. My 40-20 in this one. So in each of the last 4 finals games between the Storm and the Roosters, there has been a total of 5 to 6 tries scored in the match. So I'm going to go a total try bands at 5 to 6 here, and that'll give you $4.30.
Ooh, very nice. Very unique. I've gone my 40-20 bet. I've gone all wingers, a winger's delight. I've gone Coates anytime try scorer, Warbrick anytime try scorer, and To'o anytime try scorer at $5.59. Tried to not go too heavy on results this week because I got burnt. So hopefully some try scorers come through and this can get over the line.
I like it. Let's see those wingers fly in finals, mate. That concludes another one. Enjoy the prelims. We'll see you guys next week as we preview the grand final.